going on out there, peeps? Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat. I am your host, Pimpy. I just want to start off by first saying, look, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know you have other options out there, but I do appreciate when you tune into me and hear what I have to say. Today's show, I have Chris Marcus from Arcadia Economics. You can check out Chris's channel on YouTube. It's Arcadia Economics. On there, he does talk a lot about what is going on in the world of silver for silver investors. He covers the analytical side of this as well as the political side. He has on a lot of great guests that I think are very entertaining as well as knowledgeable. Chris, sir, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to finally catch up with you. I know I've been trying to do this for a while, and certainly quite a lot going on in the world these days, but nice to finally have a chance to sit down and record and hopefully share some information that can be helpful to people, especially at this time right now.
Yeah, I'm actually a huge fan. When I actually started getting into the investment side of collecting precious metals, outside of just having a huge coin collection, but started taking it seriously as an investor, Lynette Zhang and you were the first two people I really started paying attention to. So I really appreciate this.
It's real how different it is from my experience on Wall Street, where it's just this everything that's emblematic of government, where stuff happens, it goes bad, they never give you answers, they die, their kids take over, versus, there's some, things to be careful about in silver and mining as well. But I don't know, I like to think one of the things that comes across on the show, I don't claim to be perfect. And I've showed my frustration about some of these things sometimes. And I think there are things that people have a right to be upset about. And with Dave Kranzler, the other guys, and certainly as you and I have talked, a bit over the past year.
Yeah, I like Dave Kranzler. He's entertaining when he's on your show. I think what it is, it's his whole demeanor that I get a kick out of.
Because, there's the monetary part of silver, and certainly I think that is relevant and important. But whether someone has any silver or not, I like to think the things that people can learn right now, and certainly being connected with other good people, whether you're trying to learn or just get connected with people that have a certain style of thinking, people who try and just live a free life. And so,
you got to respect people at least are willing to share their opinion and not walking on eggshells trying to straddle that line in worries that you might piss off one type of group versus another. Me, I just express what's on my mind with no filter, which sometimes can get me in trouble. But, I think people respect that a little more than if I was just trying to, sugarcoat things. Can you just tell people a little bit about your background? Because you did say something about Wall Street, and I like for them to understand what you were talking about.
I was young. I needed the money. Well, I guess that was true. And in hindsight, actually, it's interesting and something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I graduated Rutgers with a finance degree in 2001. My first job was at Moody's, that nitwit bond rating agency that still says it's impossible to have a credit profile better than that of the U.S. government. Then my first 2 months working there, you had Enron blowing up. Then you had the World Trade Centers go down. I was running from the dust cloud. 21 years later, now I'm noticing some connections of, there's that Bush family popping up again.
Yep.
And I wonder, I've never seen anything, but the kind of thing that pops into head sometimes and then investigate. Wonder if Bernie Madoff and Ken Lay knew each other.
Sure.
I wonder if they had any silver positions, or if they knew anything about the gold and silver that went missing, because there's that video of George Bush talking about what great buddies he is with Ken Lay. And anyway, this was my introduction to the U.S. workforce. I remember being at Moody's. I was in this asset-backed commercial paper division, which was essentially rating things similar to Enron. I didn't understand why they're creating shell entities to move this thing over there when the same guy owned it. Everybody wanted to work on the 8th floor, which is where the mortgage CDOs were being rated. I didn't quite understand what a mortgage CDO was back then. By 2008, it started to fall into place a little more.
Sure.
After 2 years of Moody's, I was so thoroughly bored to tears there, and I got into Wharton. Went to that criminal collegiate institution where they teach East Coast eager beavers whose parents put as much undue pressure on them as possible to go to the top flight schools where Harvard, Wharton, then you can get your doctors that later go to Pfizer and give out COVID vaccines. and also train the math nerds like myself with Keynesian economics, so that you can be the perfect little foot soldier, good boy and girl, go to the upper levels of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. And I mean, I think a lot of people don't know what they're getting into, and we all get it at our different point. But really, if there's ever been like a devil in disguise to really trying to steal and corrupt souls, I mean, there you go with some of these banks. After Wharton, 7 years trading equity options as a specialist on the American New York Stock Exchanges for Susquehanna. Then add on the thing that I still think is beautiful about financial markets, where, all right, the silver price, I think, there's a increasingly disgusting series of felonies that these banks have to commit to keep that Ponzi scheme together. Yet, there's the one element that I think, if you get physical silver, you can leave it there. And there's going to be a day where you're going to be darn happy you have it. For the folks who do more active investing or trading, which certainly is a different ball game. I'm not saying I don't know everyone who's listening, so I can't say what's right for each individual person yet. The degree that people are approaching things like that, it's great practice in distinguishing between what I think is going to happen, what I think is fair, what I want, and then what's actually going to happen.
I was going to ask you this question to get your opinion on this. There is a lot of conflict of interest between JP Morgan, the COMEX, and LBMA.
Let's not forget the CFTC, where JP Morgan actually votes on the MRAC. And the CFTC actually reports to the CCP. You can hear Ross Benham talking about this, and you go to the CFTC's YouTube page, February 23rd. You can watch the whole thing. There's JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citadel voting on the market structure that later on the commissioner, the head demon, I'm not saying that to be funny, and I'm not over exaggerating it, the head demon, that's what that man Ross Benham is. There's no accident or gray area about what this man has done anymore. This is a man he's like the dirty cop, but on the financial level, and he's doing it to every person on the entire globe. And he's caught, and he's still doubling down. It's like all these guys know, all they know is to double down, like a drunken alcoholic gambler. And then they have the banks vote on the market policy that he uses and later quotes to tamp down the silver price, which he won't tell to the guy who submitted evidence through his own whistleblower, TPS whistleblower hotline. You can go to the Boca Raton Futures Conference and talk about tamping down the price there to the other banks. And keep in mind, Ross Benham isn't just some dude out of left field. The head of the CFTC, that's one of the 6 people on the plunge protection team, the working group on capital markets created in 1987 after that housing bubble burst, for the same reasons every other housing bubble has burst. But Reagan, or George Bush, the former CIA director, and the same guy that was financing the Nazi activity through Brown Brothers Harriman.
The whole family has a history within our own country of doing some real shady stuff, going far as back as I could tell Prescott Bush. Throughout history, you can always find all the criminality come back to the Bush family easily. But I can't help but feel it is a distraction from the bigger problem, which is how government has definitely abused the power that they have and used their powers more for criminal activity than they are for the good of the people, pushing us into this great reset. That's really a bigger problem that we're seeing now all around the world. And quantitative easing is one of the worst things that's ever happened to the financial markets here in the United States and around the world. In a true capitalistic free market, I call this a manipulated market right now, because it is.
This isn't a capitalist free market, and it's sad to me when I see now one of the new causes, I get maybe not new, is that when people are blaming capitalism as the failure, which I think is tragic, because I mean, that's why we have anything built, because people pool together resources, whether that's financial capital or, this guy knows how to make cement, this guy knows how to put the cement somewhere, and then you bring all these things together and you build a bridge or you build a building.
Well,
but
the thing
capitalism doesn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, the thing is, in free-flowing capitalism, if a company fails, well, then they fail. You don't bail them out. Either they...
You don't have the central bank print money to bail them out. That's not capitalism, and it's emblematic of the whole thing, where it's all these distortions of the truth. And that's why, by all means, if people are hearing something that I say or that you say and they think, wait a second, it's not possible, But I encourage that. That's what I love about this. People don't have to take my opinion. They don't have to take your opinion.
I always encourage my listeners to do their own research. And when you watch my videos, I just don't say the information. I share the source that it comes from. Usually I put a link underneath the video, and they are more than welcome to go read it or check it out themselves. But yeah, just don't take our word for it. Listen to what we have to say. But again, do your own research, because then you're not relying on the other words of other people. You'll feel a lot more knowledgeable and confident in any kind of decision making when it comes to investments. I keep telling people, look, the markets are manipulated like Pimpy. How do you know that? I tell them how I know this. One of the examples is the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, if you look closely enough, has been following the Wyckoff chart almost to the T. You know, you can take the graphs of the history of Bitcoin and overlay it with the graph of the Wyckoff chart. It's almost exact. If that's the case, the only way for that to actually happen, that's not random. And that's proof of manipulation right there that I'm talking about. For people who don't understand, you could go on the internet and look it up and just look at the graph. Or you could just put Wyckoff and Bitcoin together and you could see how they almost overlap. So if you have this information, you have this knowledge, and you know the trend you're looking for, you can actually make money off of it because you know what they're going to do in advance. So that's one of the things I use as proof of a manipulated market. And of course, you have tons of evidence of gold silver manipulation. We know the prices are being manipulated. Chris, you filed a complaint with the CFTC, isn't that right?
Yep.
I would love to get an update on that because I haven't caught anything in any of your shows. Where does that stand at the moment? And can you please explain to people what it is I'm talking about? What did you catch?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's the best part. And, you know, I try and share as much as possible on the show. I get it. Not everyone's living inside my brain, but at least for me, especially in the past year, I was able to get past the point of, is there anything I'm missing, or is there maybe something, but it's now when you see the evidence, it's clear as day. And I'll send you a link. We've actually compiled an evidence room full of the different links. For example, the first round of it, you had the greatest crime in history of silver last February 2nd, when the price of silver, this is during the silver squeeze weekend, it goes up $3 because everyone's buying the heck out of silver for obvious reasons.
And for those of you looking for the file that Chris is talking about, you could go to his website, which is arcadiaeconomics.com. And in there, he has the evidence that he's talking about. So feel free to go there.
Then the price goes down 10% on the same day that SLV and the trust report adding the greatest chunk of metal in the history of their entire trust. I've called iShares and humiliated them on the phone because we tried asking, how does that happen? And just listening these guys stumble around, all of a sudden they're not such financial experts anymore.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. They added in one day more than miners produce an entire year, something along those lines.
I mean, it's that times a million and just sillier than that. And fortunately, I'll share the link so that people can actually, because there's plenty of this. I'm trying to give a somewhat expedited version, but sure. So the first, all the details of why I'm saying this, where was the specific manipulation, that was written up 10 days later. So just a step back, a timeline. February 1st, Ross Benham of the CFTC says he's launching a silver investigation, threatens the social media people, which is what I think he did, which is what he knows he did. February 2nd, you have the crime. By February 12th, I submitted the first round of data officially through their TPS whistleblower hotline, because I had been thinking about it for a while, where it's like, all right, you know, I did this stuff on the show, and, you know, I think that's what's more important, and I focused on first, actually getting the information to people so that it could be helpful to them.
Sure.
But then I was thinking, all right, if I want to make a claim, or I'd seen they had this whistleblower award, so thinking, all right, I'll at least write the thing down. There was a lawyer. We got the whole thing written down. It seemed, I mean, you heard me talk about, I don't know if you've gone through the file, but it seems like to you and most other people, it was pretty clear as day, and we documented. That was round one. Then yes. Jeff Curry from Goldman Sachs decided he hadn't committed enough felonies, and he wanted to make sure it was public to the world that Jeff Curry, head of commodities of Goldman Sachs Research, is as equally disgusting and vile and sick and in need of being arrested before he does further harm to his clients, or anybody else in the world. So he made that obvious when he lied on TV on Bloomberg February 2nd, on CNBC February 4th, when he said they're hedging futures on the COMEX, which is explicitly prohibited in their fund. Of course, he didn't mention that on February 3rd, in between those felony appearances, that's when they were changing the legal language in the prospectus of SLV, of which Goldman Sachs is a sponsor, specifically to legally protect them against the short squeeze. So the man lied his face off. He got caught. We reported him. And what does the CFTC do? They have these guys set the market policy, and they tell the rest of the banks that they tamp down the price. So then I wrote it was like a 25-page letter to Ross Benham investigating some things like, all right, when else are you going to tamp down the price, Ross? When else are you going to price fix it?
Was it me, or maybe I misunderstand what he was saying, Chris? It looked like he literally came out and said, look, we committed a crime just to keep the prices from going astronomical. You know what I mean? To put it in a nutshell, it sounded like he said, we purposely manipulated the market in order to keep it from skyrocketing. Did I misunderstand?
It was like that scene in The Big Short where they go down to the they're talking to those mortgage brokers down in Florida. And they step back. They're like, wait a second. Why is he confessing this? And the other guy says,
I remember that.
I don't think they're confessing. They're bragging. He's proud of it. Now these guys are working in the banks, and they're called Jeff Curry. They're called Jamie Dimon, who just got a $34.5 million bonus. That's dirty money too. And in fact, that's one of the things that now, rather than sitting around waiting, and what I've been doing in the time behind the scenes is identifying, all right, it's great. The banks do this, they're evil. Okay, now there's $34 million. That is dirty money. If you look at JP Morgan's share price, it was about $120 right up before silver squeeze. I think it went up to $170, around $160, $150, $160 now. This is stolen money. The evidence is there. And the regulators, it's unfortunate that they're as disgustingly vile and corrupt as the disgustingly and vile corrupt people at these banks.
Sure.
And that's why people have asked, why, geez, Chris, are you sure you should be saying these things?
My auntie calls me all the time, and she's like, please, Lee, some of the things you talk about could be very risque. There's a chance that your government come after you. And this is what I tell her, and I tell everybody when I do my shows, and this. There are some things out there that are bigger than myself. If somebody doesn't say something, and you're constantly afraid.
Who's going to speak up? Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Who's the voice of reason out there that's doing something?
So I want to ask you a couple of questions to get your opinions on something. In 2008, everybody was pissed when we did what's called a bailout. Remember this? Everybody raised hell. Why are we bailing out these banks? They should have failed. They're too big to fail banks. And then not only that, we find out the bonuses that some of their CEOs and execs got, which pissed us off even more. So it was nice of Obama to come through and say, guess what? We're going to outlaw bailouts. But inside the language for that law, they had what's called a bail-in. Are you familiar with the bail-in?
Unfortunately.
I'm trying to explain to people a bail-in is different than a bailout. With a bail-in, they just take your money out of your bank account. They did a test run in Cyprus to see how the public will respond. There was a huge outcry. I saw interviews with a lady. She had $6 million in the bank. They were insured at $150,000 because that's what the FDIC covered. She got her insured amount, but she lost all the rest of her money. It's gone. And then not only that, the government taxed the insurance at 6%. Talk about adding insult to injury. This is what we have to look forward around the world. And I keep telling people, if you have your money in a bank, that's a bad idea. A lot of the friends that I know that are millionaires, rich people, when we talk, they go, we don't keep money in the bank. I'm like, why? They go, no, who would keep money in the bank? First of all, you don't make no money that way. But I also watch their habits whenever they're aware that a market is going to crash. They start moving into collectibles, painting. Sports cards are at a record high now as far as auctions are concerned. Gold, silver, always a big thing. Undeveloped real estate, not houses, undeveloped real estate. And I go, why do you guys do that? They go, to protect your money. When the market crashes, we're out of risky stock. I did a video showing Michael Berry, who manages a $600 million account, sold 94% of his stock. He only plays around with 6% of it. That's a huge amount of money that he's removed out of risky stocks. and still only playing around with 6% of that. That's unbelievable to see. Why do you suppose somebody like Michael Berry would sell off 94% of his stock and only play around with 6% of it?
I mean, we know darn well why they're doing it. We know why a lot of the stuff is happening. The information's out there, but people say, well, if this was really happening, how come nobody warns about it? They're warning about it. But anytime anybody speaks the truth, you have a lot of people, there's a conspiracy theorist, and they don't even look at the evidence. It's going to be also the end of the paper silver market because a lot of the same people. Ross Benham reports directly to Joe Biden. He was reappointed by Joe Biden. So they're together in this.
Well, they just reappoint the same criminals to continue doing the criminality. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and you're already seeing physical silver premiums shoot up while the COMEX is getting torched every day. So that's really what, in the end, matters, because if you want to get physical silver, the price is going up, whereas COMEX is going down. So the market's already breaking. Who knows? Maybe we'll be sitting here next month, and you could say, oh, well, the premium's $100 over spot. Well, I would say no. Silver's $125, even if the COMEX says $22. But if you look at the actual data that's available, and similar here, that's the metric. The physical to paper spread. It's blowing out now. The same way at the end of The Big Short, they're like, hey, this thing's blowing out now. There's a point at which, all right, there's, things stays there, and you say for decades or years, fundamentally or over the long term, this should happen. But if you're, and by all means, yeah, the COMEX still says 22, 23, and that's fine. But if anybody wants to know my opinion as someone who's sat there for the last 15 years, basically doing nothing else in life but looking at silver and reading any data piece that I can and having a trading background, what am I seeing? It's blowing out now. The indicators, like the seismograph is going off. It's saying the earthquake's already started. All right, the volcano, it's okay. If you look inside or you have the tools to measure it, the lava's about to come out. And people can like it or not like it, and what day it will happen. If you really want to know what day it'll happen, keep an eye on the COVID stuff, because they're going to be heavily interconnected.
Chris, real quick, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the show, and we'll be right back. Before we get started, if you could do me a favor and just hit the thumbs up button, the like button that is. This helps us get past the YouTube algorithms. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. A reminder to everybody that I am not a financial advisor, I'm not a lawyer, nor an accountant. All the information that I share with you is of my own opinion.
Hey, look, I want to talk about this Amber Lolly product again. Whenever something good comes along, I do want to talk about this. My neck, I had a kink in my neck from hell, and the pain it gets to the point where you get headaches. So I just grabbed the cream and I rubbed that crap on the back of my neck. After a while, you don't even realize that the pain is gone. You're just going, and how we are several hours later, and there's no pain. And it works really quick. I like that. So joint pain and muscles, sore muscles, nice. And then here's the thing about me. I get offered all the time. People want to come on, they want to be sponsors, they want to be this. My thing is, if I don't use your product, I'm not interested. I can sell out everything and make a ton of money, but no, my subscribers to me are very important. But this product here, absolutely, I'm going to endorse this. I like it a lot. AmberLolly.com.
Hey folks, just a quick reminder that back in 2008 and 9, a lot of people lost all of their retirement savings in their 401ks and IRAs because they did not own gold and silver. Yeah, that's right. Gold and silver protects you from a market crash. So do yourself a favor, protect your retirement by purchasing gold and silver. You can go to moneymetals.com, reach out to them, and they will help you set yourself up to protect you and your family from having to start all over from scratch. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they will send along with your order a free half ounce of silver. So folks, do yourself a favor, head on over to moneymetals.com and protect you and your family from a market crash, as well as inflation. So head on over to moneymetals.com and buy gold and silver. That's right, you could personally own it and have it. And keep in mind, if you spend more than $100 on your first purchase, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. And I will leave the link for Chris Marcus's Arcadia Economics website right down below in the description. Feel free to come on over there. There's all kinds of goodies I'm sure you guys will enjoy. including the case that he has filed with the CFTC that we were talking about on the show. So thank you for joining me for part 1. So that's it for now, and I'll catch you later. I'm out.